Now look what the cat drugged in. Jesus 2 in the building. D5 villain. What's up, everybody? This is going to be awesome.
Yeah, this is going to be great. I'm really excited for this. This might be the one I've been more or less the most excited for in a bit. Yeah, this is the one. This is the one. No, I'm super fucking stoked. I know you're in here, dude. This is going to be a lot of fun. I got a lot of questions for you. You're, you are a giant in this space, and you're somebody to look up to. And I can't wait to learn more about you, more than what's out there on the internet. So, can you hear us? Are you able to talk? Is everything all good, Jesse?
I just invited to speak. Hold on.
Okay.
Hello. Hey.
Hey, man.
I can hear all of you.
Great.
Nice to meet you. And hey, Alyssa, what's up?
Long time no see. Ready?
Yeah, it's been a while.
To hear we're in the middle. We're in the middle. We're in the eye of the storm of Jesus 2. Phase 2 just passed.
Yeah.
Can't wait to chat.
Yeah, we're doing making a lot of stuff. I'm just putting out fires every day. Just
I feel like
keep getting more firefighters, and that probably won't make you have less work, honestly.
I don't know if that's the correct analogy, but it's like a mad scramble, like 10 different things I got to be monitoring all at the same time, trying to keep track of everything and make sure I stay organized and don't forget to do something.
Yeah, no, I honestly, at least something that I've learned is being a project lead is an overwhelming majority of the percentage of time is admin and fire, and some of it's art and creating. I mean, you're super prolific, and so it seems that you've really struck a nice balance with that. But yeah, just to say, I can relate a bit to just the admin things, the issues, and the good and the bad.
Yeah, I mean, the larger your project gets, hopefully, the more you can start to delegate. But right now, it's pretty much. Actually, that's not true. We've been bringing some people on board to help, and we've been hiring out some freelancers. We've been trying to be a little bit smarter, like just being like, oh, we don't have to do all of this. We could actually hire some people to help us. So yeah, we're getting better at not taking on everything. Yeah.
Right. Good, man. Yeah, delegation. That's the way. It's tough though. I think that I would imagine you're a bit of a, I don't know. Would you consider yourself kind of a perfectionist, kind of an anal guy?
I would say I'm not a perfectionist, but in certain areas, like I try to be as this is kind of weird, but my motto has been for the past 10 years or something like that, shoot for B+.
I like that.
Because perfection is unattainable. So it's you have to be, in order to be productive, you have to sort of hope that a summation of all your work equals something better than the individual parts, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you'll if you're always shooting for A+, then you're gonna average out with a bunch more failing grades. You're just gonna have more bad stuff averaged in, whereas a B+ is above average, and you're accounting for the problems a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's all contextualized. How you see what you see as B+, might be to someone else A+, But I could spend 3 months on a single background painting if I wanted to, but I have to finish them in less than a week. So that's the trade-off. There's always a compromise, right? And then when you're working with other people, you have to accept what they do is not exactly what you do, and you have to sort of find a compromise there when you're working with teams. That's just the reality.
Well, let's get this kicked off with an introduction a little bit. This is the Exposure with Overexposed Twitter Space. Today, our guest is Jesse from Jesus 2. This is a show. I always call it a show, goddammit. This is a Twitter Space that Ren and I have been doing for a couple of months now. And it's kind of got our art podcast vibes. It's mostly interview, talking about the process, people's backgrounds, etc. in the beginning, and then at the end we open it up for some questions. But most of it is just an interview. And my name is Alyssa. I have been community manager at Overexposed, and I am planning spaces and events. And I'll pass it over to Ren. Here's the mic.
Oh, there it is. Oh, it's heavy. Heavier than I thought. SM58s are always heavier than you think. Thanks, Alyssa. Yeah, here we go. I definitely consider these spaces, definitely art-based. I'm really curious about people's processes. I'm really excited to kind of hear more about how you make this stuff. So I just want to start at the beginning because I always find that the background of an artist is fascinating in regards to what kind of shapes it be who they are and how they create. I think, at least for my point of view, my parents and my upbringing and the art that I was introduced to has, all of the makes everything that I make today, more or less. It's all that inspiration and where it came from. So you grew up in Philly, is that right?
Yeah, I grew up in the suburbs outside of Philadelphia, yeah. And then I moved into Philly when I was a teenager, late teens, and I lived there for a long time.
Gotcha. Okay. Nice. Yeah, and you went to Pratt for a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
I went to Pratt for 1 year. And
that's a good school.
yeah, I wasn't ready to be in art school at that time. I was kind of crazy. So
yeah, there you go. No, for sure. So you only went there for a year and then you left, and then what?
So I left. The reason why I dropped out of Pratt was basically I was not sure if that was what I was supposed to be doing with my life, was spending, $27,000 a year for art degree. And I also was like really into, at that point in time, like environmental eco activism stuff. Like I was thinking about, I was reading lots of anarchist books, and I was thinking about joining the like Animal Liberation Front and stuff like that. So I dropped out, and I lived with a bunch of punks in Philadelphia and just played shows. Like I was played in bands and stuff, and I just did that for the next couple of years, not knowing what exactly I wanted to do with my life. Just trying to figure it out, basically, and trying to figure out what my worldview was. Yeah, and I learned that during that period of time, I really learned that I did not like crust punks. But yeah, that's a whole thing.
Do you think growing up in Philly made you do you think when you grow up in Philly, you're kind of automatically a bit of a badass?
You kind of have to be a little bit. You have to kind of hard off because it's violent. It's a pretty violent city, and yeah, stuff. And even the people within that punk scene that I was in, there was like lots of weird stuff going on all the time, fights and like squatters like killing people and stuff.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so there was like, yeah, it was, it was interesting, exciting, but also depressing, and yeah, so I kind of distanced myself from that stuff over a period of time, and I decided to go back to college, and I went to film school because I thought I wanted to make live action films. So I got my bachelor's in film, in like film media production or whatever. And then I learned that I didn't want to make live action films also during the course of that time, even though I'm a huge like cinephile and I love movies, and I worked at a video store for like 5 years, and I just decided that medium wasn't for me. Yeah. And that's when I got into making comics, and that's sort of where I found my direction. Making comic books.
So, I love, chatting with other NFT, artists that are also musicians. So that's something exciting for me. Make a Rising, that was your band. Was that your first band? And how did that form?
No, my first band was a punk band called Anal Sausage.
That's good.
Yeah. That band started in high school, and actually started in maybe, high school-ish, end of middle school, with me and my buddy Dave, and my brother played in it too, and we had a bunch of different drummers over the years. And then after Anal Sausage broke up because our bass player and I, who were best friends, we had a falling out, and it was a very dramatic, and I didn't talk to him for years and years after that. But what do you call it? After that, I kind of started. That's when I got kind of disinterested in the punk scene in Philly and in the hardcore scene. I started
too much drama.
Yeah, too much fighting and negativity and stuff like that. So I got really into the Beach Boys and like psychedelic music. And so I started another band called Hiroshima Nagasaki with my brother. And that was sort of like I was really into Daniel Johnston and stuff for a period of time. Well, I still like Daniel Johnston, but I got really into Daniel Johnston and the Beach Boys. And we kind of started our own sort of like indie twee, like pop band. And then we did that for a couple of years, and then we played a show with this band from the Bay Area called Sleepytime Gorilla Museum. I don't know if you know those guys, but they were
sounds like it could be an NFT project.
Yeah, they were like a goth prog metal band, and we played a show with them. So we were this like twee band, like trying to replicate like Pet Sounds or whatever, and then we played with Sleepytime Gorilla Museum, and they just like blew me away. And I was like, okay, and I don't even like goth that much, but these guys were so ambitious musically, and I immediately broke up our band, and that's when we started Make a Rising after that.
I see.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, and Make a Rising like has been an amorphous like project. I mean, it still kind of exists, but yeah, my brother and I have not had time to work on music for the past like 3 years.
Yeah, you've got a lot on their plate. Yeah, the dude, that's super cool. I mean, in the music, the polyrhythms and like the over the bar line is so extreme. Like I lose track of where the bar line is. That is some like, you know, higher end. Like not a lot of musicians just figure out polyrhythms and bar lines and a lot of the things that you guys are messing with. And the time signatures are just all over the place. I mean, as a drummer, it's absolute playground for me. Like I love this. I'm glad I found you guys. Glad I'm checking out the music. Where were you? I mean, I know you went to film school, which is also awesome because I wanted to go to film school. Because I'm like, I do cinematography. Like we have a lot of overlap. Like it's crazy. Anyway, were you trained in music at all?
Yeah. So I took violin lessons because I'm half Japanese. So my mom, who's Japanese, made me play violin. I mean, it's like a total cliche, but like, yeah. So I grew up my childhood being forced to play violin, and then in a sort of like rebellious thing, I taught myself guitar. Because I didn't want to play Vivaldi. I wanted to play like punk music or whatever, you know? So, and my mom always said to me, she was like, someday you'll thank for me forcing you to learn violin. And actually she was right. I mean, it was like traumatic, but
well, I mean, the thing with violin is it's a fretless instrument. I mean, your ear from an early age has to be in tune. Do you have perfect pitch?
I used to back when I was younger, but I'm so out of practice now. I definitely don't anymore. I used to be able to call out notes and stuff like that, but
oh, nice.
Yeah, not anymore. I rarely pick up the violin now. My brother and I, we resurrected our band right before the pandemic, maybe a year before the lockdown and all that kind of stuff. And that was the first time I was playing violin regularly again. And it took me a whole year to get back like some amount of skill. Violin's a tough instrument. You have to really.
What instrument did your brother play?
He played piano. So he also took piano lessons. So my brother he lives next door to me. So I hear him he still practices like almost every day piano. He's been jealous because piano is a much easier songwriting instrument than the violin. Yeah.
Yeah. It says that he plays a saxophone. What the hell is that?
Oh, saxophone. That was some instrument. I don't know. We used to live in this warehouse, and people just would come over and jam in our living room, and we had like tons of instruments. So we just collected instruments over the years. We had a living room full of instruments, and one of them was a flute that someone had put like a saxophone head on. I don't know. So it was a reed instrument, but also a flute at the same time. I don't.
Wow.
I just pictured the Grand Madre when you say this warehouse.
Yeah, it was called the Avant Gentlemen's Lodge. That was our warehouse that we lived in. And we used to have shows there and stuff.
Oh, that sounds like a fucking dope era of life.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really messy and there was.
Did it smell bad?
It smelled bad, and there was asbestos and.
Oh hell yeah! Oh hell yeah!
And we would throw big, really crazy parties there. Yeah.
Dude, yeah. I mean, that sounds like, were you in your 20s?
Yeah, I was in my 20s.
Yeah, that sounds like a perfect 20s situation. Just going back to the music for just a half a second. I went through the track Transmutation, and I was wondering, I was hearing some Sufjan Stevens. Do you ever listen to that guy?
Yeah, so Sufjan, that album, the album that came out after Michigan, I think, right? When he started getting really like bombastic, like
Is it Seven
I
Swans?
can't remember. Dude, everybody in my band was listening to Sufjan Stevens. Yeah, for sure.
Cool. I totally heard a little bit of that, and I'm a massive fan of his. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
So music, sweet, nice. So let's get into what you're doing now. I mean, I was saying earlier, you're a hell of a prolific dude with all this content that you pump out. To get there, I guess the first question is, what was the tipping point? What was the little tiny pebble that started the avalanche of drawing or, 2D art, illustration? And then also, I moved to LA about 3 years ago, and I just moved back to Boston. So I was there for about 3 years and got a good taste of that whole entire scene. And I worked for but it doesn't matter. Point of the matter is, I'm curious how you got out there. And I mean, the big $1 million question is, how the hell did you get in those rooms for these big shows?
Okay, so it goes back to I'll try to make this short. One is, I've been drawing my whole life. I've been making comics casually my whole life, since I was a kid, since I was probably 6 or something like that. My mom was really strict. She didn't let me watch TV. She made me draw. She put paper in front of me and crayons and stuff when I was first able to conceive of that idea. And so I always was encouraged to draw and be creative. So that just became a strength from both me and my brother. And as I was getting older in elementary school, I noticed that teachers would always compliment me, assign me to do drawing projects. So I figured out when I was young that I could, I was better than a lot of other kids at drawing. There was probably 2 other kids, in each class, and we all compete with each other. Like, oh, we're the drawing kids or whatever,
Right. Right. Oh, I remember the drawing kid in my grade. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And then so you meet, you kind of, over the years as you get older, you meet those other drawing kids, and either you are competitive with them or you become friends with them, and then when you become friends with them, then you sort of teach each other. It becomes this like peer teaching thing. I had a buddy, one of my best friends, Nate, in high school. We were just like 24/7 draw buddies, and he taught me how to draw hands, taught me how to draw, showed me a lot of artists that I didn't know about, and things like that. So I owe him a lot. And then when my film career kind of flopped in film school or whatever, when I realized that I didn't want to do it, I had been drawing comics this whole time, but I never thought it was possible to have a career drawing comics. But there's a bunch of stuff that led up to me taking it seriously. But one of them was this film director named Alejandro Jodorowsky, who made a movie called Holy Mountain and El Topo. And I was obsessed with his movies, and he went through a period of time where he couldn't get funding for his films. And so he famously, had tried to make Dune into a movie, and that failed. He lost the funding for it. And so he started making called The Incal instead with Moebius. I mean, luckily he knew fucking the greatest comic book artist of time. But anyway, he made Moebius. I mean, he made Incal. And I saw that and I was like, oh, I could do that. I don't have the budget. I don't have the means to make films, but I can always make comics. It just means I just need to buy paper and pen and ink, and that's it. And then I can start telling stories. So from a financial point of view, it just made sense. So I started doing that, and I realized at the time if I was going to do that, I had to really do it. Like I had to treat it like a job. So I just kept building up my endurance. It's not easy. You need a real patience and endurance and ability to appreciate small gains. You can't draw a whole comic book in a day. It takes like a month, or more, depending on how detailed you're drawing, So that patience, like the marathon instead of a sprint sort of mentality, is something it's like a brain muscle you have to build up. And I did that for a while, for years, just like making comics, making small print runs. And I got a grant from Peter Laird, who created the Ninja Turtles. He had a grant called the Zarek grant, and I applied for it. And I got it. And then that put me on the list and made me, made the indie comics world like aware of me. And from that, I got some publishing deals. And then from there, I got the attention of Penn Ward, who was just then creating Adventure Time. So he found my work, found my comics, and he reached out to me and offered me a job around 2008. And I was living in Philadelphia, and I was working at a gym, washing towels. And he offered me a job, and I was like, okay, I'm moving to LA. So I had like a 2-week notice. I moved all my shit into storage and moved to LA and slept on people's couches until I was able to afford to get an apartment.
What kind of stuff were you drawing then?
Back then, so I was mostly drawing like surrealist autobio comics, sort of like humorous comics about life, but elevated into some kind of surreal dream stories. And then from there, I started working on a comic, epic humor sci-fi comic called Forming, which I was posting on the web, on my website. And that was sort of like my attempt at making a blockbuster hit comic or whatever. And I think that's the thing that really got people's attention about my work was I put out 2 big graphic novels called Forming 1 and 2, and I'm still working on the 3rd one.
How many years was that over?
The first 2 took me a total of probably about 7 years to make. Maybe 6 years, something like that. And this last one has been taking me equal that amount of time.
That's incredible. It's something that I find really cool. Is there's a parallel that I'm now thinking we're not the only two. One of the things that you were talking about is budget-wise, creating live action film is requires tons of resources, and drawing, you had it in your own wheelhouse. There's like you said, a pad and paper. I was shooting music. That's how I was making my living. I was shooting music videos for Berkeley kids for many, many years. And at a certain point, my creativity and the ideas that I had for these music videos, the budget wasn't there, not even close. But then I realized I could make that idea come true in 3D in a day. And so more or less, I feel like that's a similar thing that happened to you. And what it really is our creativity kind of outpaces what we can physically do in the real world. And so now, now I'm here in 3D and you're on, pen and paper, and we can do absolutely anything that we want to do. And clearly your work, you do absolutely what you want to do. It's so creative. I mean, here's a question for you, and you don't have to answer. This could be a private thing, but do you do drugs or something like that? Because this stuff, like, I can't even fathom coming up with 99% of this stuff. So if you're comfortable talking about it, can you tell us a little bit of where this shit comes from?
Yeah. So it's a 2-part answer to that. One is that I grew up really opposed to drugs, and I didn't do any drugs probably until my 30s. I think 30. Until I was 30, I didn't touch any drugs. And it was because of that reason, because people would ask me, they would say, oh, do you do drugs? They would see my drawings and ask me, oh, you must be really high when you do this. And I took it as a point of, I took it as an insult, basically. I was like, oh, you don't think I can come up with this stuff without drugs? Mm-hmm. And so it was like a big ego kind of thing. Like, I was like, I'll show you. I won't ever do drugs, and I'm going to come up with the most fucked up shit possible. So that was until my 30s. But I think I reached a point in my life where I was like, you know what? who cares? Who cares what people say about, I became less concerned about how people perceived me or their assumptions they made about my work or me as a person or whatever. And I was like, I need to experience life. I need to try things. And so actually when I hit my 30s, I did start to experiment with drugs. I took ayahuasca and I did, I started.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I started smoking.
Did you go out of the country to do it, or were you, like I was in Peru and I had the opportunity. I didn't because I was chicken.
Yeah.
But
No, I did it.
Did you travel?
I did it in New York.
Oh wow! Okay, right here.
Yeah, there was like a traveling shaman, and I did it in this like yoga studio in a loft space in New York, with probably like 15 other people.
Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah. So that experience was highly influential. It was. I've talked about this before on some other spaces and stuff, but like the short story is that it was a very traumatizing experience, and it took probably 6 or 7 years for me to get over it.
Wow.
Yeah. And but at the same time, I pulled out a bunch of like ideas from that experience. One major idea, which is like the crux of Jesus 2, which is this idea of, well, there's like a allegorical design or whatever in the short, which is Jesus 2 flies around on this black marble,
Right.
and there's all this repeating motifs of black objects, like hatching out of black objects, like black drops of liquid and stuff, and that was all from my ayahuasca trip. So and that has a lot to do with my own personal journey with the fear of death and all this kind of stuff. So it's all stuff I'm still working out, but I'm more at peace with like what I experienced back then. Yeah, but it's worked its way into my creative output.
Well, that's interesting, and I think that it's cool to know that for a very long time it was absent in your creation. I mean, just knowing that your brain does have the raw firepower to create this stuff, because I think that there's two types of people. I think there's certain people that wouldn't be able to create a single thing until they're under the influence of something, yes. And then there's the people that can fully function and sober and make art. So it sounds like a great thing that hopefully a great thing that you had that experience. I know that it took some time to get over.
Yeah. Well, I was I was really, really desperate to, like, as they say, like, rip open the veil of our material existence. And I was looking for ways to do that. And then what you find is that if you do that, you're like playing with fire, basically. If you're too attached to the material world, it can really fuck you up. And I think, what do you call it? My creative process usually is sort of intuitive one where I'm almost channeling. I'm trying to like channel higher intuitive powers when I'm drawing. Like, I mean, that sounds pretentious or whatever, but that is
you gotta try.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, but the actual attempts to like make contact or whatever have only been a few here and there, because it's really frightening if you're not ready for it.
Yeah, especially with thinkers. If you're a thinker, and I bet you are more philosophical than a lot of people. I think a lot of artists are, and I think that when kind of philosophical thinkers hit those drugs, hit shrooms, hit ayahuasca, kind of very intense things can happen. And I've had a handful of things that have just absolutely changed everything. Yeah. And it's terrifying, but it's shoot. It definitely gives some perspective. So I feel like maybe there's even some parallels in some of the revelations. Revelations is really kind of what comes out of that stuff for me.
Yeah, I have friends who love having bad trips.
Oh God!
They're like, I just had
they're memorable.
Yeah, they're like, they'll actually. I have a buddy who takes like Oasis on edible just so he can have like some nightmare thing happen. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I had a demon like crawling around my body and stuff. It was great or whatever. I'm like, dude,
that's what I was going for.
Yeah. That was on my list of shit to do today. Well, that's incredible. So, CNFT, like, how did you land here?
So that was, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot to unpack about that, but I'll try to keep it simple in that basically I had been hearing about NFTs for a while. Obviously, some people were really like going off on NFTs in the art world and stuff like that. And people would reach out to me being like, to do NFTs, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't, for me, everything has to fit within my process. I can't just force myself to switch mediums or whatever, just so like the potential that I could like make a living or whatever doing that thing. So I didn't care. I was like, I don't care. I don't care about NFTs. Who gives a shit? I'm doing fine. I'm making cartoons, blah, blah, blah. But over the course, but at the same time, I was like witnessing sort of the slow decline of the animation industry. And also going through the process, anyone that's in Hollywood, that works in Hollywood and tries to make shows knows the purgatory of Hollywood show development. And I've been through that process a bunch of times now where you work on something for years, nothing happens. The people that were championing your project disappear to another production company. All of a sudden, everything dries up. Everything you were working for is gone and you don't own it, right? So you can't even use the stuff you've been working on. Like your shit just disappears and you can't even talk about it because you signed some NDA or whatever. So that was going on, and my manager kind of brought up to me. He was like, "What do you think about NFTs?" I was like, "I don't have anything against NFTs. I just don't have any reason to do them. Like I don't, And he was like, "What if you, instead of pitching these shows to networks, you try pitching it to the NFT space and see what happens. That way you're doing the same exact process, but you still own all the IP yourself. Like there's, if it doesn't work out, you still can do whatever you want with it. Like, and I was like, okay, that's starting to now make sense. Like it feels like it's a natural part of my process. I would be making these things anyway. And so if I just make it for the NFT audience, let's see how they respond to it and see if people are into it or not. And so my manager knew the Endmaker guys, so he introduced me, and I talked to Patrick and Christian, and they just, I don't know, I got a good feeling from them, and I was like, okay, cool. Like if these are the people who are introducing me to the world and making me feel comfortable and not feeling like I'm getting into some completely strange thing, then maybe this is something I could do really easily, and it wouldn't feel like it was forcing a square peg into a round hole kind of thing, you know? So immediately I just started drawing and making the characters come to life and stuff. I was like, oh, okay, this is just what I normally do, except there's like a technological aspect to it that I hadn't really been familiar with. So luckily I met Jono, who's my project manager. He immediately reached out to me because he was a fan of Adventure Time and Midnight Gospel. And I saw that he had worked on some other stuff. So I was like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. And we talked over Zoom for a while, and we really got along. So it's kind of walked me through, how to run a project. And then, the Discord, everybody in the Discord has also kind of like held my hand through the process in a lot of ways. So that's how I got into it. I think that answers your question.
No, totally does. That sounds like a really interesting journey. It's always cool to see how people, wind up in this space. Yeah. No, nice, man. Well, that's awesome. I think, I think that you have one hell of a community. I love the pieces that I own. It's just, I'm excited to continue to watch this thing unfold. I think, Alyssa, if you have any other questions, feel free. Otherwise, I think it'd be great to open this bad boy up to questions.
Well, I'd just like to hear about what, I guess, when we might be looking at being able to see the short and, what's going right now with the project.
Yeah, for sure. So we submitted all the design assets and the storyboards and most of the locked picture to the animation house on the last Sunday. And so
what did you decide? Who did you decide to go with for the animation? Is it like a few separate people or one?
No, it's a team. It's like a team, production house team in Colombia called Dynamita. They've worked on some stuff for Rick and Morty and I think for Disney, the Disney Channel maybe. They're an up-and-coming animation house, but my producer knows them really well, and he highly recommended them and was like, yeah, they're super talented and super easy to work with. So I was like, okay, so we did the test M, and I was happy with the test. So yeah, so let's do it. Let's go for it. I've got Penn Ward from Adventure Time is kind of helping me on the back end, like doing some animation. He's going to look at all the stuff that comes back, and give me advice on it and stuff like that, on how to give feedback on it. And yeah, I'm already starting to get stuff back from the studio, just little bits and pieces. Actually, this morning I had to do some really last minute things to them because I forgot to design a couple of the characters. So I had that this morning. They were like, "Where are these characters at?" I was like, "Oh shit, I forgot to give them to you." So I had to do that this morning. Some background characters that are fighting in the background and stuff of one of the shots. Yeah, so the ball's rolling on that. They're starting with rough layouts, and so I'm going to start getting rough animation back from them pretty soon. Like, I'm already seeing little bits and pieces, just like tests and stuff like that. So yeah, probably in the next. That whole process is going to take a couple months. I mean, it's a big, laborious process, like making animation. But yeah, the ball's rolling. It's being animated. And in the meantime, Jono and I are planning for the third drop. That's going to cover the costs of post-production, hiring a film composer, paying for all the like special effects and comp work that needs to be done on top, and the final color grading and all that kind of stuff. So that's where the budget's going to for the third drop. And in order to make the third drop exciting, we're actually working on our official white paper right now. And we're making the website, we're plussing up the website so that people can access the lore easier. Because right now the lore is all like on a Discord channel, and we want to really bring it to the forefront. So all the backstory, world building stuff is going to be super accessible on our website. Yeah, we're having meetings this week, talking to our web designer, our new web designer. And yeah, we're going to like do an overhaul of everything before phase 3 so that the project is looking really, the presentation of the project is going to be super tight.
That's great, because that is a huge part of what pulled me in, and I think it being on the website will definitely help a lot.
Yeah, the website right now is sort of a placeholder. So we're trying to like bring everything up to a certain standard before phase 3 happens. Yeah, but when you're a small 2-person team, it's like you can only do so much. But now we're trying to expand like who's involved, so that we're able to like really polish up some of these ideas we've been had brewing for a while. Yeah, and getting more into doing collabs and all that kind of stuff. So the ball is rolling for all that stuff, so we can super hype up the third drop.
Hell yeah, cannot wait. Yeah. This is a very addictive project. It's like crack or something. Just saying. And I'd love to hear any questions anybody has for Jesse. Don't be shy. Throw your hand up. Don't even throw your hand up. Just request to speak. And, find out more about all of Jesse's life shenanigans or Jesus 2 shenanigans.
Oh yeah, and I see Nicholas is here. He and I got brunch not too long ago, which was awesome. I've only had a couple IRL experiences so far with people in the NFT world. But Nicholas was one of them, and I got lunch with cinnamon bun. That was like maybe 2 months ago or something like that.
And P-Tobes.
Yeah, so it's been a couple so far, but like at some point, yeah, I mean, I'm planning on going to CNFTCon, this next CNFTCon, so that'll be my big debutante.
Here he comes.
Yeah,
Pancakes 2023.
Yeah, passing out pancakes and wearing a tiara.
Yes. Probably with some sort of black reels on it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I have to figure out. I got to figure out like the booth. What we're gonna do with our booth? Feels like a big. There's a lot of decisions that have to be made. How did you? What was your process of designing your booths? Just curious.
Honestly, it was the guy Marco just sent over more or less a list of things that you can use to build. Like there's a big like pamphlet magazine of all these different things you can pick from. And I just more or less went through that and then just kind of piecemealed it and call it a day. It was a great experience. It was super easy. They came, they set everything up. I mean, everything is kind of ridiculous. Like a chair was like $200 to rent for the 2 days or something, or $300. I mean, it's all kind of crazy, but it's, it's a big space. It's just kind of what it is. And yeah, I love the experience. Yeah, Nickel Yass was there. He was doing a killer job. I enjoyed meeting him in person, and it was just one hell of. I hope you can make it, man, because it'd be great to meet you in person. And it was just a very fulfilling, weekend.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be there. I mean, we're trying to premiere the cartoon, the short, at CNFT Con.
Yeah, I think this year,
nice.
This year it was so unknown, and we were just trying to think of what are interesting things that people could do at the booth. And I think Spose had ended up having one of the best booths. So I think it's going to be, I think you'll be able to ask people that have had booths and be able to get more perspective since doing it in the second year. So it's like, we know now more what people are looking for and what pulls people in.
Yeah.
But showing the movie is a huge thing in itself. Shit.
Yeah, I don't think we'll show it at the booth. We're gonna have a private screening for holders or whatever. Whoever's like a holder that shows up, will be able to see the short. We're trying to keep it like any way that we can benefit the people that supported the project. So if you want to see it,
buy your ticket.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, eventually it'll be making the run on the festival circuit, but after we really want to make sure the people who supported the project get first look at it. So,
right.
Yeah.
Good call. Nice. Well, we have some silent enjoyers here. I don't know if we've had any raised hands, but I think that if not, we can kind of wrap this thing up and everybody gets back to work.
Oh, and we got Holy Pixels coming out on January 31st.
Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up.
Nice. Good. Nice.
So one of our Discord members, T-Rex, started out doing pixel interpretations of all the Jesus 2 characters, and I was just making them into emojis on the server because I liked them and thought they were fun. And he just kept doing them. I didn't know he was going to keep going, so he made all of them. And then we got the idea of trying to see if we could start to support the artists who are in our community and figure out a way to highlight them. So this was a perfect chance that we had. This guy was already making stuff. So we were like, hey, do you want to do a small collection of your pixel, cover versions of our characters? And he was super into it. So we've been working really hard on it. Him and Jonah have been working really hard on it for the past couple months. And we're going to release a small collection of pixel versions of the characters at the end of the month. We're pricing them so that they're super affordable, like 20 ADA, I think. And it's a fun way of giving back to the creative people who maybe don't have the resources to start their own projects, but want to get into NFTs. And so T-Rex is a big part of our community, so we decided let's do it. And it's thematically connected, so we were like, okay, this makes sense. Let's do it. Yeah, make pixel versions of the Jesus 2 characters.
Hell yeah, that's super cool. What a great idea.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
Yeah, it's a fun way to keep everyone interested in the project and stuff like that. And it's just a cool riff on Jesus 2. So yeah, I'm super stoked on it.
They're so cute. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. It's been
T-Rex
so great. Yeah, what up?
Oh.
Yeah, T-Rex is the guy. He's right below my face here. At least in my view. Yeah.
Alyssa. Sorry to interrupt. Alyssa, I just wanted to just cover all grounds. Is there anything that we want to say before we wrap up?
I think.
Oh, I've got one thing. We have the snapshot. We're going to tweet about it in about an hour, but it's going to be at 11:59 p.m. today. So we've got about 9 hours. Wait, is that right? 12? No. 10 hours. I don't know. I'm not good at math. I'm trying to do the UPC here.
11:59. You do the math.
11:59. That's all you need to know. So anyway, that's the big news for today.
The Charles Makeup X. I love how much Charles looks like a final boss. You know, like it's like Charles gone evil, and he's like the final boss that you have to fight.
Even Charles. Hopefully he likes it.
Yeah, dude, definitely. He's already a self-proclaimed OE fan.
Oh, good. Yeah.
I was hoping that he would be a Jesus 2 fan, but we were trying to get in touch with him for months.
He just needs to see the gifts of you and him together, and he'll be like, "This is obviously a friendship I need to have."
Yeah. Me to your ranch.
Well, I think he knows about Overexposed because of CNFTCon, so you literally have to be right in front of him for him to see it.
I wish I had been able to ambush him at last CNFTCon with a microphone so I could get his voice on my cartoon.
Oh shit! Yes, he's got a good voice for the short, no doubt. Yeah. Come on, we gotta be able to stalk him down, like put out a bunch of feelers, a bunch of different people message him and get that recording of him.
Oh, we've been trying. I mean, I was talking to his personal assistant for a while, who was like super amped on it, but you know, Charles is a busy man, so
true. Yeah. Well, at least you know you tried.
Yeah, I definitely tried.
Nice.
I could definitely just steal his voice off of one of his live YouTube videos, but I don't know if I would get in trouble for that, so probably not good.
Yeah, totally. Okay, awesome. Well, this has been really great. The space was recorded. We are going to upload it to YouTube, like we have with the other ones once we get the recording from Twitter.
Sweet.
Yes, ma'am.
Cool.
Man.
Thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to making fonts.
Oh boy, Vector. What do you use to do that? Illustrator?
I do everything in Photoshop. I really don't get Illustrator. I don't understand.
I don't either. Raster is life.
Yeah, raster is life, even though raster like decomposes when you start to mess with its size.
Oh yeah. No, it's definitely not the right choice for a lot of the things that probably we both use it for, but Illustrator just doesn't make any sense if you're used to that, if Photoshop or Raster.
Yeah, I remember opening Illustrator one time and just being like, wait, how do I draw? What is going on here? I couldn't figure it out. I use Raster I use Vector when I'm storyboarding. And then someone told me, actually Eli from Clumsy Ghost told me to check out this Adobe program that's sort of like toggles between raster and vector called what's it called? I don't know. It's some newish Adobe program that sort of like marries the two, Illustrator and Photoshop.
Really?
Yeah, I want to check that out. I forget what he said it's called, but that's what he draws in, apparently.
I see.
Yeah, but he says it's cool because I think it mimics the brushes of Photoshop, but like it's all vector.
Ooh, yeah, that is a nice, marrying of the two. Yeah. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten used to some vector drawing, which it can be super convenient, but yeah, I don't get Illustrator. It's like too weird for me.
Yeah, for sure. Hell yeah. Well, thank you, man. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story and giving us a better idea of what's kind of going on.
Yeah, I learned some new things today.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Yeah. And I think we both know this guy named Philip. Do you know that guy? He's an animator in Canada.
Oh yeah, he works for Disney, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's we've chatted a good bit. He's a super nice guy. He seems to have I've seen a lot of the kind of like the Mickey Mouse kind of shorts and whatnot that he sent over. I think there were trailers. I'm not sure. Yeah. So we both know that guy.
Yeah, I've been consulting with him recently because he might help me figure out how to do some things I have in future plans. So I'm starting to do some R&D on some like animated things I'm trying to do in NFT space. So look out for that.
Oh, nice, man.
Nice.
Yeah, look out for that.
Yeah.
He's definitely a really good guy in that space to be connecting with. That's cool. You said someone we know together. One other that I wasn't going to mention until you mentioned this is in the gang vocals in your album, the Ben Levitt. Do you pronounce that Levitt?
Levitt, Ben Levitt, for sure.
Did he go to Berkeley?
No, I went to high school with Ben Levitt.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, never mind. Because there's a Ben Levitt vocalist that I went to college with, and he absolutely is a total kind of art rock kind of dude. So never mind.
Okay.
Just wanted to shoot in the shot.
Okay. Well, Ben Levitt I know lives in Oakland now.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
copy. I don't know where this guy went to after college,
Okay.
but all right. Well, hell yeah, hell
Two
yeah.
Ben
Um, yeah, nice, nice. All right, cool. Back to some 3D animation, baby.
All right, you enjoy your creative process today.
Yeah, you too, dude. You too. Thanks again, Alyssa. We'll chat shortly. We'll get that recording up. I know that now is not the best time for our community, but it's the best for us. So we're gonna record it, put it up, so everybody can enjoy it. So everybody that popped in, thank you. Just seriously, thanks for coming and hanging. It means a lot to me and OE in general. I see a lot of familiar names in here, which is dope. So thank you.
Peace out.
Peace, guys. just seriously, thanks for coming and hanging. It means a lot to me and OE in general. I see a lot of familiar names in here, which is dope. So thank you.
Peace out.
Peace, guys.